Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is a federated state in northern Germany. The capital city is Schwerin. The state was formed through the merger of the historic regions of Mecklenburg and Vorpommern after the Second World War, dissolved in 1952 and recreated at the time of the German reunification in 1990. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is the sixth largest German state by area, and the least densely populated. The coastline of the Baltic Sea, including islands such as Rügen and Usedom, as well as the Mecklenburg Lake District, features many holiday resorts and unspoiled nature, making Mecklenburg-Vorpommern one of Germany's leading tourist destinations. 3 of Germany's 14 national parks are in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, in addition to several hundred nature conservation areas. Major cities include Rostock, Schwerin, Neubrandenburg, Stralsund, Greifswald, Wismar and Güstrow. The University of Rostock and the University of Greifswald are among the oldest in Europe. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern was the site of the 33rd G8 summit in 2007. Name. Due to its lengthy name, the state is often abbreviated as MV, shortened to MeckPom. In English, it is sometimes translated as Mecklenburg Western Pomerania, literally Mecklenburg-Cis-Pomerania. Inhabitants are called either Mecklenburger or Pomeranians. The combined form is never used. The full name in German is pronounced. Sometimes Mecklenburg is pronounced. This is because the digraph LT, CK and GT marks a preceding short vowel in High German. Mecklenburg, however, is within the historical Low German language area, and the C appeared in its name during the period of transition to Standard, i.e., High German usage. The introduction of the C is explained as follows. Either the C signals the stretched pronunciation of the preceding E, or it signals the pronunciation of the subsequent K as an occlusive to prevent it from falsely being rendered as a fricative following a Low German trend. Another explanation is that the C comes from a mannerism in High German officials of writing unnecessary letters, US called Latin Haarverlang. History. In the aftermath of the Second World War and the German reunification in 1990, the state was constituted from the historic states of Mecklenburg and Western Pomerania, both of which had long and rich independent histories. Prehistory human settlement in the area of modern Mecklenburg and Vorpommern began after the Ice Age, about 10,000 BC. About 2,000 years ago, Germanic peoples were recorded in the area. Most of them left during the migration period, heading towards Spain, Italy, and France, leaving the area relatively deserted. In the 6th century, Palabian Slavs populated the area, while Mecklenburg was settled by the Obertrides. Vorpommern was settled by the Veleti and the Rani. Along the coast, Vikings and Slavs established trade posts like Rerek, Ralswiek and Menzlin. In the 12th century, Mecklenburg and Vorpommern were conquered by Henry the Lion and incorporated into the Duchy of Saxony, joining the Holy Roman Empire in the 1180s. All of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern was settled with Germans in the Ostsiedlung process, starting in the 12th century. Mecklenburg. In the late 12th century, Henry the Lion, Duke of the Saxons, conquered the Obertrides, subjugated its Nickleting dynasty, and Christianized its people. In the course of time, German monks, nobility, peasants and traders arrived to settle here. After the 12th century, the territory remained stable and relatively independent of its neighbors, one of the few German territories for which this is true. Mecklenburg first became a duchy of the Holy Roman Empire in 1348. Though later partitioned and repartitioned within the same dynasty, Mecklenburg always shared a common history and identity. The states of Mecklenburg, Schwerin, and Mecklenburg-Strelitz became Grand Duchies in 1815, and in 1870 they voluntarily joined the new German Empire, while retaining their own internal autonomy. After the First World War and the abdication of the German Kaiser, the monarchies of the duchies were abolished and a republican government of Mecklenburg was established. Western Pomerania-Vorpommern, literally Vorpommern, is the smaller, western part of the former Prussian province of Pomerania. The eastern part became part of Poland after the end of World War II. In the Middle Ages, the area was ruled by the Pomeranian dukes as part of the Duchy of Pomerania. Pomerania was under Swedish rule after the Peace of Westphalia from 1648 until 1815 as Swedish Pomerania. Pomerania became a province of Prussia in 1815 and remained so until 1945. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern wartime. In May 1945, the armies of the Soviet Union and the Western Allies met east of Schwerin. Following the Potsdam Agreement, the Western Allies handed over Mecklenburg to the Soviets. Mecklenburg-West Pomerania was established on 9 July 1945 by Order No. 5 of Red Army Marshal Georgy Zhukov, head of the Soviet military administration in Germany, as the province of Mecklenburg and West Pomerania. During the war, the makeup of Mecklenburg and Vorpommern's population changed due to wartime losses and the influx of evacuees. After the war, people who fled and were expelled from the former eastern territories of Germany east of the Oder-Neisse line settled in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, increasing the population by 40%. Before the war, Mecklenburg and Western Pomerania had a population of 1,278,700, of whom many perished during the war and others moved west in the course of the Red Army's advance. In 1947, some 1,426,000 refugees from the former eastern parts of Germany were counted. Most of them settled in rural communities, but the urban population also increased, most notably in Schwerin from 65,000 to 99,518, in Wismar from 29,463 to 44,173, and in Greifswald from 29,488 to 43,897. German Democratic Republic. On 5 June 1946, a law enacted by the Soviets constituted a provisional German administration under Soviet supervision on 29 June 1946. After rigged elections on 20 October 1946, a Landtag replaced the Beratendversammlung and created the Constitution of 16 January 1947 for the Land Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. On 18 April 1947, the state's name was shortened to Land Mecklenburg. The East German regime wanted to downplay the fact that Germany had made significant concessions to Poland after the war, and eliminated the use of any names that referred to the former territories. Mecklenburg became a constituent state of the German Democratic Republic upon its formation in 1949. In 1952, the East German government abandoned the term land in this context and redesignated its administrative territorial divisions as districts. The territory of Mecklenburg and Vorpommern was divided into 3 districts that covered roughly the same area: Bezirk-Rostock, Bezirk-Schwerin, and Bezirk-Neubrandenburg. These were commonly known as the Nordbezirke under the highly centralized GDR government. The East German government developed the shipyards in the old Hanseatic ports, and also established the Greifswald nuclear power plant in Lubmin near Greifswald. Reunification. At the time of German reunification in 1990, the eastern states were reconstituted along the post-war boundaries as they had existed until 1952, and the historic name Mecklenburg-Vorpommern was restored. Since 1990, the state has undergone dramatic changes. What had been largely an industrial and agricultural economy is increasingly driven by the service, tourism, and high-tech sectors. The old towns, hundreds of castles and manors, resort buildings, windmills, churches, and various other cultural monuments of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern have been renovated in recent years. Since 2013, net migration into the state has been positive again. Geography. Location in urban areas. 6th largest in area and 14th in overall population among Germany's 16 Bundesländer. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is bounded to the north by the Baltic Sea, to the west by Schleswig-Holstein, to the southwest by Lower Saxony, to the south by Brandenburg, and to the east by the West Pomeranian Voivodeship in Poland. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern's state capital is Schwerin. The largest city is Rostock, with approximately 205,000 people, followed by Schwerin. Other major cities include Neubrandenburg, Stralsund, Greifswald, Wismar and Güstrow. Districts. Since the 4th of September 2011, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is divided into 6 Kreis and 2 independent urban districts: Landkreis Rostock, Ludwigslust Parchim, Mecklenburgische Seenplatte, Nordwest Mecklenburg, Vorpommern Greifswald, Vorpommern-Rügen, and Rostock. Schwerin. Landscape. The state's Baltic Sea coast is about 2,000 kilometers long and features several islands, most notably Germany's 2 biggest islands, Rügen and Usedom, but also a number of smaller islands such as Hiddensee and Poel. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern's varied coastline also has many peninsulas such as Fischland, Zingst, and various lagoons. The southern part of the state is characterized by a multitude of lakes within the Mecklenburg Lakeland, the largest of which is Lake Müritz, followed by Lake Schwerin, Plower Sea in Lake Kummerau. The land of 1,000 lakes is hallmarked by its unspoiled nature. Due to its clean air and idyllic setting, medical tourism has become a notable tourism sector in the region. A total of 283 nature reserves, 110 landscape reserves and 3 of Germany's 14 national parks are scattered all over the state. National parks culture. Over the centuries, Mecklenburg and Vorpommern have developed and maintained strong regional cultures. It can generally be described as North German and has similar linguistic and historic characteristics to other North German states, such as Schleswig-Holstein. People in Vorpommern, as a result of the territory being a former province of Prussia, tend to look slightly more towards Berlin and Brandenburg than people in Mecklenburg would. Architecture. The cities are characterized by a certain Hanseatic style, also found in other parts of northern Germany as well as in countries bordering the Baltic Sea like Estonia or Latvia. A common feature of many towns in Mecklenburg and Vorpommern are red brick Gothic churches and houses dating back to the Middle Ages. Also, stepped and tailed gables are a typical feature of the Hanseatic old towns, such as Stralsund, Wismar and Greifswald. The old towns are usually built around one or several marketplaces with a church at the town hall. Often towns were founded at the Baltic Sea, one of the many lakes, or a river, for logistical and trade motives. Rural areas of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern are often characterized by brick Gothic village churches and agricultural heritage, like brick homesteads. thatched roof houses, windmills, manor houses and castles, museums, art and theatres. The largest publicly funded theatres in the state are the Mecklenburg State Theatre, the Rostock People's Theatre, the Theatre of West Pomerania, with venues in Stralsund, Cottbus and Greifswald, and the Mecklenburg State Theatre of Neustrelitz with venues in Neubrandenburg and Neustrelitz. All four theatres offer both drama and musical theatre as well as orchestral music. Other important theatres are the Ernst Barlach Theatre of Güstrow, the Theatre of Parchim, the Anklam Theatre and the Wismar Theatre. There are also many small theatres on the Baltic coast and in individual artists' villages and resorts. Since its growing importance for summer tourism, open-air theatres and festivals become more common again as well, such as the Stortebeke Festival on the island of Rügen and the Veneta Festival on Usedom. Since 1993, the Stortebeke Festival has taken place in Ralswiek on the island of Rügen. It is Germany's most successful open-air theatre. Notable museums include, for example, the Schwerin State Museum and the Pomeranian State Museum at Greifswald. The German Oceanographic Museum with its Ozeanium in Stralsund is the most popular museum in northern Germany. Furthermore, the German Amber Museum in Reibnitz-Damgarten, Rostock Abbey of the Holy Cross and Rostock Art Gallery are of national importance. The oldest museum in Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania is Stralsund's Cultural History Museum. The smallest is the Professor von Schneider Sculpture Museum in Plaumsee. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is home to many cultural events throughout the year. During summer, many open-air concerts and operas are open to visitors. The Mecklenburg-Vorpommern Festival attracts a sizable audience by performing classical concerts in parks, churches and castles. Caspar David Friedrich, a famous Romanticist painter born in Greifswald, immortalized parts of the state in several of his paintings. Language. Today the vast majority of people speak Standard German. A few centuries ago most people spoke Low German, a dialect that is still kept alive within various communities and cultural events. Food and drinks. Like most German regions, Mecklenburg and Vorpommern have their own traditional dishes, often including fish, beef and pork. Rostock has its own type of bratwurst called Rostocker bratwurst. A famous dish from Western Pomerania is Bismarck herring. Rotgrazie is a popular dessert. The largest beer breweries are Mecklenburgische Brauerei Lubs, Hanseatische Brauerei Rostock, Darganer Brauerei and Stortebeke Braumanufaktur. Besides, there are many smaller breweries and craft beer variations, such as the Melenth and Castle beer from Usedom Island. Religion. The majority of the citizens of Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania are irreligious or unaffiliated. As of 2010, 17.3% are members of the Evangelical Church in Germany and 3.3% of the Catholic Church. Following the Christian Reformation, led in Germany by Martin Luther, as well as a period of Swedish rule, the traditional faith in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is Protestantism, specifically Lutheranism. There are also a number of Catholics and people of other faiths. Both confessions are split at the old border. Mecklenburg belongs to the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Mecklenburg and the Archdiocese of Hamburg. West Pomerania forms the Pomeranian Evangelical Church and belongs to the Archdiocese of Berlin. As to the Protestants, a union to form a North Church was completed in the 2010s. There are also Jewish communities in the state capital of Schwerin and in the city of Rostock. Historically, there were also synagogues in smaller towns, of which some are still preserved. The state's Jewish organization is part of the Central Council of Jews in Germany. Education. Universities and colleges. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern has the two oldest universities of the Baltic Sea region, also among the oldest of Germany and all of Europe. University of Greifswald, University of Rostock, Also, there are further colleges, technological universities, Fachhochschule des Mittelstands in Rostock and Schwerin, Rostock University of Music and Theatre, Hochschule Wismar, Fachhochschule Stralsund, Hochschule Neubrandenburg, Fachhochschule für öffentliche Verwaltung, Rechtsfleisch und Police Gastro, Hochschule der Bundesagentur für Arbeit with its Schwerin campus, Designschule Schwerin with options to study design. Schools. The state's school system is centralized. There are two main types of schools, regional schule and gymnasium. Besides, there are also independent schools, comprehensive schools and trade schools. Politics. Article 20 of the state constitution states that the Landtag is the site of political decision-making. The Mecklenburg-Vorpommern Landtag is elected democratically by the citizens of the state and sits for a 5-year legislative period. The seat of the Landtag is located at Schwerin Palace in Schwerin. The essential functions of the Landtag are to elect the minister-president of the state, to discuss and decide on laws which have been proposed by the government. Any 4 members of the Landtag, a people's initiative or a petition for a referendum initiated directly by the people, and to control the state government. Minister-president. The executive is led by a cabinet, in turn led by a minister-president, who is the official head of government. The election to determine the minister-president is held no later than 4 weeks after the newly elected Landtag is convened. Landtag. The last election of the Landtag took place on the 4th of September 2011. It confirmed the Grand Coalition of SPD and CDU, which took office after the 2006 election, then still led by Harald Ringstorff. Since 2008 it is led by Minister-President Erwin Sellering. 2011 election results. The election was postponed for 2 weeks in part of the island of Rügen due to the death of a candidate. The official result is shown below. Economy. The labor market. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is the least densely populated and least industrial German state, being the 6th largest in size, but only 14th in population. The unemployment rate has gone down to 10.7%. Formerly, it has been negatively affected by the breakdown of non-competitive former GDR industries after the German reunification in the 1990s. Now it is the lowest in more than 15 years, while the economy is growing and the number of jobs is increasing continually. Growing sectors are biotechnology, information technology, life sciences, maritime industry and tourist services. In Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, approximately 732,200 people were gainfully employed in 2008, with 657,100 of them were white and blue-collar workers. About 4,200 new jobs were created in 2007. Employees worked an average of 1,455 hours a year. The number of self-employed did not change in 2008. 3 out of every 4 of all people in work are employed in the service sector. Tourism. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is the top destination for intra-German tourism and is gaining importance for international tourism. The main tourist regions are islands, Rugia and Usedom, Poel and Hiddensee, Peninsula, Fischland Zingst. Seaside resorts, Binz, Boltenhagen, Graal-Muritz, Heringsdorf, Heiligendamm, Kulungsborn, Warnemünde and Zinnowitz. Stettin Lagoon, Uekermund, Hinterland, particularly the Mecklenburg Lakeland, and cities, Stralsund and Wismar, Schwerin, Güstrow, Rostock and Greifswald, which have a diverse cultural heritage. Night sky. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is home to some of the most pristine night skies in Germany, especially in the area near National Park Müritz. It is a potential site for a dark sky park. As a reminder of its rich history, nearly 2,000 castles, palaces and manor houses exist in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, many of which are used as venues for public events like concerts and festivals, such as Festspiel. Medical tourism based on the clean air and idyllic settings by the Baltic Sea has a growing importance to the regional tourism industry. Main sporting attractions include the German Football League games of FC Hansa Rostock and the international sailing event Hansa Sail. Had the bid for the 2012 Summer Olympics in Leipzig been successful, the sailing competitions would have taken place off the coast of Rostock. Notable people: arts and film, Ernst Barlach, Friedrich von Flotow, Caspar David Friedrich, Marianne Hopper, Till Lindemann, Philipp Otto Runge. Business, Ernst Heinkel, Karl Heinrich von Siemens, Leonhard Tietz, Georg Wertheim. Literature, Ernst Moritzardt, John Brinkmann, Hans Verlader, Walter Kempowski, Fritz Reuter, Rudolf Tarnow, E. H. M. Welk. Politics, Ernst Moritzardt, Dietmar Bartsch, Egon Krenz, Helmut von Moltke the Elder, Harald Ringsdorf, Angela Merkel, Joachim Gauck, Gebhard Lebrecht von Blücher. Science, Theodor Billrud, Friedrich Crossander, Walther Fleming, Gottlob Frege, Otto Lilienthal, Gustav Mee, Ferdinand von Müller, Paul Pogge, Karl Wilhelm Scheele, Heinrich Schliemann, Johannes Stark. Sports, Tim Borowski, Andreas Dittmar, Thomas Doll, Marita Koch, Tony Kroos, Jan Ulrich, Jens Voigt, Sebastian Sylvester, Carsten Janker. Miscellaneous. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is Germany's #1 tourist location, the main destinations being the Baltic Sea coastline with islands such as Rügen, Usedom, spa towns like Heiligendamm, Kulungsborn, Boltenhagen, Warnemünde and the Mecklenburg Lake District. It also offers important historical cities such as Stralsund, Wismar, Greifswald and Rostock as former Hanseatic cities minus a Schwerin, Güstrow, Ludwigslust and Neustrelitz as former residences. The historic old towns of Stralsund and Wismar are World Heritage Sites. Mecklenburg-Vorpommern is the least densely populated German state. The largest city is Rostock, followed by the state's capital Schwerin. During the chancellorship of Angela Merkel, Mecklenburg-Vorpommern hosted the first official public meeting with President George W. Bush in 2006 and the 33rd G8 summit in 2007. Both political events were financed by state and federal budgets. Gallery.